There it is.
There you go. All right, so we'll get started here a second. All right, so you're not doing anything with it, or? Okay. Let's see. All right, and then what we'll do is, we can probably share this later. Facebook. I don't know. Am I able to share it through my iPhone, through Facebook Live? Because I know I usually can do that through my desktop, but not through.
Yeah, only through your desktop.
Is it only through a desktop?
Through
Okay.
the Pro account.
Okay. All right. Let's get started here, and then we'll. All right, guys. Welcome back to my Tony Real Estate Podcast show today. I'm joined today by Wanda Allen. How you doing, Wanda?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. I'm back here at the studio here, filming again here. So it's been, I don't know, it's been about a couple months since I actually been here in the studio and started filming. So I'm actually looking forward to, even though I know we're doing a Zoom call here, I'm definitely looking forward to actually getting some guests back here again and be able to sit face to face with people. But the great thing with technology is we can still do these Zoom calls and still be able to connect. So,
yeah.
So how's everything over there in your neck of the woods right now?
It's good that we're opened up for business, not business as usual, but pretty much everything's opened up, which is, it's nice. It's encouraging.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Are they requiring masks where you're at?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And and by the way, let's introduce you. I mean, tell me, where are you at? I mean, what do you do, Wanda? So for the guests that don't know who Wanda Allen is, tell them a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Wanda Allen, and I'm an international speaker and a coach, and I do corporate training as well. And I'm also an author. Everything I do is centered around follow-ups. I'm a one-trick pony, if you will. I help my clients improve their follow-up skills, and both of my books are on follow-up. The first one was Follow-Up Savvy, and my second book is Follow-Up Sales Strategies.
Okay.
So it's just an area that in general people really struggle with, and I'm there to support and help them get order and organization to that really important part of business that obviously brings in more sales, but also takes care of your relationships.
I agree, and as a lot of people that know me, they know in real estate, follow-up is very important, that you're following up with clients, especially right now. And we'll tackle this here in a second when we talk about following up. I mean, right now, even though a lot of us are at home or we're in quarantine or whatever the case is, we're practicing social distancing. It's very important to be following up. So that's why I wanted to bring you to this show today, to this podcast, so we can really talk about follow-up, because it's very integral part of business and for business professionals, but it's a skill that a lot of professionals don't practice. So I'm very happy that we can chat today. I know we were supposed to bring you out here live, but I know with everything that's going on with this pandemic, we have to set up for a Zoom call. But hopefully here in the next few months, we'll be able to bring you live here and get some live audience here for you. All right?
Yeah, that would be great. I look forward to that day.
Awesome. So let me ask you a couple of questions before we tag on your book. So I know you said you're an author. Prior to this, what was your career? What did you do before this?
I had a 25-year corporate career. I was a business banker, and I specialized in the area of SBA lending. And
perfect.
Yeah, I spent the lion's share of my career managing SBA departments. And then the latter part of my career, through managing SBA departments, I managed departments that did 100 million plus in annual loan volume. And it was through that experience that I developed a very strong skill for creating systems. And then the latter part of my career, I went into branch management, which put me into sales. And when I realized how critical follow-up was to the sales process, to every single step in the sales process, and I just took my skill of creating systems and applied it to the follow-up process. And so it's interesting that career launched me into this business that I now have. And I'm grateful for it, because when I was following up, and see, there's an extension of follow-up too. It's called staying in touch, which people really struggle with as well. When I really figured it out, and I would always get comments, I didn't know I was doing anything out of the ordinary. You know, I just thought this is what you should do and this is what people do. But I learned very quickly when I left the bank in my career that people really struggle in this area. They really struggle. And it's because, one, they don't know how to do it. They know they need to do it, but they don't really know how. And there's got to be systems and structure to this process. And that's where a lot of people lack in this area.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's funny you said SBA lending, because I know a lot of people are you know, actually, you know, was approved for an SBA loan. So actually just recently, so SBA lending. So maybe I need to talk to you, but follow up with you after this and talk about more how to, about SBA financing, because that's a lot of things. That's a big a loan company that really a lot of people don't know about how they can tap into. So especially in this current environment that we're in right now. Yeah. So let's get started. Let's really tackle follow-up. Like I mentioned to you, I'm a very big believer in follow-up. I mean, through all the businesses and through all my career, I believe, I mean, you probably heard of the old adage, fortune is in the follow-up. And I know it's very integral part of any sales career. And it's not even talking about sales, it's even just personal. Your personal life is just really, it's important to follow up. I mean, I always like joke around too with my friends, you know, for people that are married, you probably wouldn't be married if you didn't follow up with your wife or your spouse, right? And ask them to a second date, or just follow up with them to see how they're doing. So I know I read you know, your book, is a follow-up strategies, right? Yeah,
follow-up sales strategies.
So tell us a little bit more about about that book. Why somebody should be reading that book?
Yeah. So it's about, like I said, the first of all, really understanding the depth of follow-up. People know they need to do it, like I said earlier, but there's so much depth to it. We've got to get the right mindset to approach what we need to do. So mindset is critical. And then we need to implement the processes and the systems. And that's what this book is about. And my goal for writing this book was to just change people in how they view this. And it's really difficult for a lot of people. And it's because there's so much fear centered around following up. And also lacking time, especially for staying in touch, because when we're not staying in touch with people that are important to us, in essence, you're just neglecting that relationship. So it's this notion that I don't have the time to do it, and people are just running around crazy, and life is crazy. But it's focusing on the fundamentals, like commit and prioritize what's going to build your business, what's going to bring in more sales, and what's going to give you stronger relationships. And that's where it gets real. That's where people start slipping and sliding, because they're just not sure how to do it. And so like, if I can make it just really short and to the point, do what's important before you do anything else. That, you know, if your listeners, and I give this challenge when I speak, if you will do the important work for the next 30 days before you do anything else, it changes everything. But what happens is people will do what's comfortable, and they'll get caught up in all the busy work. You know, and the old adage, I was busy all day, but I didn't get anything done. You know, it just becomes this vicious cycle. And it's like the hamster on the wheel, running, because we're spending our time on low level, low priority work that's comfortable. And oftentimes following up is uncomfortable. But, you know, it's a muscle. The more you do it, the more developed that muscle is going to get, the thicker your skin's going to get. And you're going to, I want your mindset to be stronger than your excuses or your comfort level, so that it will support you in doing what needs to get done.
That's awesome. There was a lot of great points you brought, you know, you mentioned there. I like that, you know, when you said, do what's important before you do anything else. And I know one thing that a lot of, you know, because I have a lot of people that listen to me because I'm a real estate broker, realtors, calling leads or following up on leads. That's a skill that a lot of agents or a lot of salespeople don't like to do. They don't like to call leads. Everybody likes to call somebody that they know or as a referral, like, hey, they're waiting for your call, but nobody likes to make those initial calls and follow up with them. And me personally, one thing I mean, every Monday, when I get into the office early in the morning, the first thing I do is I call my leads. I call, 50 leads and I go through, through my CRM, which is, I'm sure, it's important for follow-up systems to have an appropriate CRM, which is a contact relationship management system. But that's the first thing I do is I try to, for the first hours, I go through as far as I can through the first page. And if I still have more time, I go through the second page, before I tackle anything else. And, and I think it's very important to do what's important because especially in our business, in real estate and sales professionals, I always tell them there's only two things you really should be doing is lead generating and then nurturing those people in your database. And that's where you come in is important is nurturing and following up with those, leads that you have or your sphere. So let me ask you a question. So you mentioned staying in touch. So let's say for a realtor or any real estate professional that's watching this, what are some of your advice that you can offer them right now to stay in touch with their sphere or their database?
Okay, it's, I always start with the mindset, understanding that the relationships you've already made, the connections you've already made, there's so much opportunity there. And in the real estate business, the sales process is long. And you get to know that prospect. And by the time you get through the transaction, you most likely have a relationship with that now client, and hopefully a good relationship. And so you don't want to let them go. You want to, if you enjoyed working with them, getting to know them, you want to maintain that relationship. And what so many people do is they follow up on the prospecting side, get the business, close it, and then they drop the relationship and are off looking for their next new lead, prospect, and client. And so you're sitting on a gold mine. So you have to stay in touch, and it's a myriad of ways how you do it. You want it to be a mixed bag of goods. You don't, it's real easy to stay in touch electronically. It's easy. It's quick. Oftentimes it doesn't cost much, but the whole world is staying in touch electronically. So you want to mix it up. And if you're only staying in touch the same way, it's going to lose its effectiveness, and the recipient is probably going to become bored and it's going to lose its value. So throw in a phone call, throw in a handwritten card, throw in, hey, let's get together for coffee or lunch. And I'm in no way knocking technology. It's incredible. I mean, we're able to have this conversation because of technology, but it's not the be all and end all line of communication and relationship management. And I really want your listeners to understand it's a tool. Don't lose sight of it. It's a tool in your tool bag. And we all need to humanize our relationships. We're human beings, and we need human interaction for the health and wellness of any relationship.
I love that. Yeah, and that's where a lot of people, forget is, it's a relationship business. You're building relationships, and you got to continue connecting with people, and I know as a real estate broker, I mean, I can test a lot of my successes is by networking. And that's how I met you, right? Through a networking event, to one of my networking groups. So, and now we're still building a relationship. We're still following. You followed up with me, and we're still connecting. And that's really why I tell my agents or even other business owners, we got to continue. We can't let that stop, It's free to pick up your phone and dial somebody, text them, right? Like you mentioned, send out a card, and reach out to them. I mean, especially right now with social media, it's so easy to connect with people, but we have to. It's very important that we do that. So in the follow-up process, I mean, what are you seeing some of the challenges a lot of people or a lot of business owners are facing when it comes to follow-up? Is that just not doing the follow-up, or what are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing right now?
Yeah, so one thing, one missing piece that creates a huge challenge, and you touched on this, is not having a CRM.
Mm-hmm.
CRM is so critical for success, because if you're operating without a CRM, you're doing what I call, and I'd mentioned earlier, you're slipping and sliding throughout the day. And using a CRM it puts you on firm ground. You're just a lot more effective. And there's a lot of people that don't even know what a CRM is. And, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm in no way knocking anybody for that. But it just shows that how often CRMs aren't used. Then there's another group of people who definitely know what a CRM is, and they've just never gotten one. And then there's another group of people who have a CRM, understand what it does, who doesn't use it. So I will tell you, there's far fewer people that use a CRM as a daily habit and a daily practice. And it will change your life. A CRM will change your life. And that sounds so dramatic, but it brings order and organization to the follow-up side of what you need to do. Relationships don't slip through the cracks. Your follow-up will not slip through the cracks. And when those things slip through the cracks, it creates stress, because we feel guilty, we're embarrassed, we're frustrated, we're discouraged. And a CRM fixes all that, and then it centralizes everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd mentioned it's your to-do list. You pull it up every day, and you know who you need to contact because your CRM tells you. And so that's a big struggle. Another struggle is, like I said earlier, it's the fear. There's so much fear. Fear of being pushy, fear of rejection, fear of it's uncomfortable work, fear of not knowing what to say or how to say it. I mean, there's just a lot of fears around following up, which is, I think, the primary reason why people don't do it. Fears are strong if we allow them, but when you have your systems and processes in place and your CRM in action, it really helps calm those fears down so that you can be bigger than the fear and take the action you need to take.
Yeah.
The other thing too, you touched on this, is people network. It pains me the effort and energy and time that people put into networking, lead generation, door knocking in your industry, open houses. They have a lot of opportunity for leads in open houses. And they're really knocking themselves out on what I call the front end piece. But they fall so short on the back end, which is the follow-up, that so many people will never experience near the fruit of all that labor they're putting out because they won't follow up, or they don't follow up. And what happens is people view the follow-up as the heavy lifting. And the heavy lifting is getting the lead. That's where the follow-up is just picking a phone up or sending an email or text. So I would love your viewers to have a mindset shift of, once you get that lead, oh good, now all I have to do is follow up. So if you will take on that mindset, then you're going to start experiencing more value and fruit from what you've already done to get that lead.
I love it. Love it. Yeah. I mean, just to piggyback on like we were talking about with CRM, and that's something that not just agents, I think every business owner should have some sort of CRM system, And I always tell people, like, people will make excuses, right? Like, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, man. It doesn't necessarily have to be a system. I mean, I'll be honest, in the beginning, I used Microsoft Excel. That was my kind of CRM system, But now as I made a little bit of money, I could afford to pay for CRMs. I mean, right now, I probably closed last year 6 deals just alone because from deals that were 2 years or older that had not even, I'll be honest, I didn't even pick up the phone or talk to them, but my CRM was still following up with them through a drip campaign. That's one great advantage of having a CRM, for those that don't know, is these drip campaigns, it's still sending out there, and especially in the real estate industry. I set them up in what's called listing alerts, where periodically every week or every so often, it sends them listing alerts of homes that are on the market, which helps me because it's coming from me. Even though I'm not taking the time actually looking at these houses, it seems like I'm actually looking at this. So it's it's invaluable, the you know, having a CRM, a good CRM that can do those follow-up. And just another thing to add, because I would say, you know, I tell people, like, the reason people should listen to me or listen to you is because we do it. We do it in our business life. Yesterday, I did I think I posted on my Instagram story yesterday how many times I actually called this one lead. And this is just in the last probably few months, 33 times. Yeah. And I actually showed 33 attempts.
Yeah.
And guess what? I finally got a hold of her again. And I had already talked to her. I already talked to her a few months ago, and she was interested in buying a house and selling. But that was just the first part of the follow-up. A lot of people think, okay, I made contact, that's it, they're closing. No, it's a process. And we'll talk about here in a second is the process, because a lot of people forget it's a process. It doesn't take one attempt, two attempts, right? It takes multiple times. And that's the thing right now is staying on top of mind and until they're ready to buy or sell. Because especially in my industry in real estate, people I talk today, maybe a lead that I get from Facebook or even an open house, like you mentioned, they might not necessarily be buying next week. It might take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, especially right now with this quarantine. It's taking a lot longer. I probably have at least 20 people right now I've spoken in the last, kid you not, since March, where, you know, they said that shutdown, are thinking of buying or selling after the quarantine is over. Because I'm still following up with them, seeing how they're doing and all that, you know, I'm still trying to stay on top of mind. So I think it's important that a lot of people understand that follow-up is not just, okay, I made one call, you connected, that's it. It's an ongoing process. So let me ask you, Wanda, what would you, I mean, I know it's a process. Can you kind of like break it down, how the process would look like as far as follow-up? Because from initial contact to eventually to the close, I know it's a big range sometimes. It can be here, there, but give us some tips or strategies, you know, in the follow-up system and maybe some processes that people can implement in their business to help them gain more business for themselves.
Yeah. So well, research tells us that 80% of sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact. In your industry, a lot of the times it's going to be over 12 and sometimes way over, like you said, 30, 33 contacts. So just and because a prospect doesn't respond, doesn't mean they're not interested. And that's what, so, you know, people will assume there's a lot of assumptions being made when somebody doesn't follow back up with us. So understanding and reminding yourself that it's not you, it's not your prospect, it's just the nature of the beast in following up, and especially in your industry. So you have to do your due diligence when you're following up for at least the first 5, 6, 7, 8 times that you're following up to see if they're ready. When they go cold on you, like really cold, if you have followed up 6, 7, 8 times and they're just not getting back to you in any form or fashion, what I would suggest then, sometimes it will convert from following up to staying in touch, and you alternate. So, okay, they're not getting back to me. I'm not going to assume they're not interested. I'm just going to assume something's gone on that's prevented them from moving forward when they said they would, or even just following back up with me. So, but I don't want to let them go. I don't want them to forget about me, because they will. If we're not staying in touch, we will be forgotten about. So then you can start mixing up some staying in touches. There's a difference between following up and staying in touch. Let's say it's the holiday time and they've gone cold on you. We'll send them a holiday card that has absolutely nothing to do with them buying or selling, whatever their situation is. It's just sprinkling in those non-business touches, because what happens is you're going to create loyalty with your prospects, and prospect loyalty is very real and it's not well understood. But you know, if you're every single time you're following up, if it's been 15 times or 20 times and every single time's about business, it's not as meaningful as if you're sprinkling in other contacts that are not about business, because that's where you can really stand out. And then it impresses people when you're staying in the game, because most of your competitors are going to fall off. Most of your competitors are going to stop following up after 1, 2. Well, research tells us most 90% of people quit after 2.
Yep.
And I believe 90% of people don't follow up at all or quit after 1. So if you will, 1, remember those statistics, 80% of sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact. 2, a mindset I want you to take on is when you quit, you're doing a disservice, obviously to yourself, but you're doing a disservice to that prospect, because you're not giving them a chance to do business with you. And you know you can make a difference. You know you're an expert in what you do. You know you're very good at what you do. So when you quit, you're not allowing them to experience that. Then be very mindful of following up consistently. Once a prospect has expressed an interest, it's your job. You've got to follow up. If you're in sales, part of your job is to follow up. When they go cold on you after you've done your due diligence, then start sprinkling and staying in touch contacts, in addition to continuing, to get the business. And one contact could even be, it's not necessarily about, hey, are you ready? But maybe I just wanted to share with you a property I just sold recently, or a property I just listed, reminding them about what you do and a success you had, because it's about building that relationship. So that's loosely telling you, I do a whole hour coaching session on how to create systems. I hope that gives you an idea of how you can stay in there and not fall back, and know that you're going to leave a great impression. Because, if I've said this before, if I'm looking to sell my home, I didn't say this before on this call, but I use this example a lot. If I'm looking to sell my home because my husband and I are going to downsize, the kids are all moved out, and I'm talking to 2 realtors, and I've told both of them I'm ready, I want to do this, but I had a huge project come up at work, and now this pandemic has happened, and I'm just not responding, because I've got kids at home, and life's crazy, and the husband's home, and it's just a crazy house. 2 realtors I'm talking to, one I hear from twice, never hear from again, and the other one is consistently following up, checking in, staying in touch. Who am I going to be more impressed with? And the answer is obvious. And who's going to get my business? And that answer is obvious as well. So again, that helps illustrate how critical it is to you staying in the game, because so many people fall out.
That's a great point. Especially in my industry, in the real estate industry, we all know the best example is, when people sell their house, they usually don't sell their houses with the same agent that found in that house.
Yeah.
Right? I think the percentage is very low that they actually sell the house with the same agent that actually found the house. All my listings that I've sold in the last few years since I became a transition in real estate,
yeah,
they bought the house with another agent.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why, like you mentioned, it's important. Not just we follow up with our new business, but definitely is important to continue following up and nurturing the people that already know, like, and trust us. One thing that I was reading a book it's a book called Ninja Selling. People know us, they like you, they trust you, but you need to stay in flow with them, which is where I think the follow-up is you got to still be in touch with them. They may know you. That's like these agents that sold these houses. They know them, they like them, they trust them. That's why they bought a house with a house. But then what happened is they lost touch with their agent. Their agent did not keep in flow with them. Like you said, wasn't staying in touch with them, right? It was a sale. It was a transaction. And they moved on and they forgot.
Yeah, and that I experienced that. So when we bought our house, the realtor was great. We had a blip, and her and the developer, they were able to figure it out. It didn't end up costing us $1, which was not the case when it first came up. I was really happy with her. She was great. She was professional. I never heard from her again. And I'm going to tell you, I can't remember her name. I can't remember the company she worked with. The only thing I remember, she had blonde hair. That's all I can remember. So, you know, no matter how good you are, people aren't going to remember because life's busy and crazy. And so like you were saying, you know, you've got to stay in touch so that they don't forget about you.
Yeah, it's very important. And I want to kind of like touch a bit here. You said about the fear of being pushy, fear of rejection. Because I mean, especially in real estate and just in sales in general. I mean, you know, when I was a manager at years ago, when I was a manager at a collections office, right? I mean, that's the ultimate fear of rejection, right? I mean, that was the one. I mean, imagine when I know I'm already going to get rejected because I'm collecting on people that owe money. You know, that's already in the back of mind. I think that's really helped me in my sales career because knowing that it's part of the process. Rejection was part of the process. You know, nobody's gonna who hasn't paid in 3-4 months or 5 months or getting ready to charge off on wash and dryer. I was collecting on Sears credit, so I was collecting on people's wash and dryer that they probably don't even have anymore or doesn't work anymore, and I'm collecting on something that's probably 10 times more than what they bought it for. You know, I'm already expecting rejection. So it really helped train me that this is part of the process. And I think that's the fear of being pushed and rejection is what a lot of agents, and that's what I try to convey with a lot of agents, you know, right now. I mean, most of these people, some of these leads that they get from the internet leads, these are people who are interested. Maybe their level of interest is not to a 10, but there was some sort of level of interest because they filled out a form, they gave their cell phone or their email. There has to be some legitimacy to that, right? So there has to be some sort of interest. And that's a part of, you know, we'll talk another time, is part of understanding throughout the process, you know, people's level of interest may not be as strong in the beginning. So that's where having a process, having a follow-up system in place, because people's interest in the beginning might not be as high, you know, as opposed to 3 months, 6 months down the road when their situation changes. Right now, like I mentioned to you, I have 20 leads right now on my pipeline that I've talked to in the last 30 days. A lot of their interest is going to probably be here in the next 30, 60 days once our quarantine is over. So that's where I know as a professional myself, it's important for me to follow up, to stay in touch with them, because guess what? If I'm not following up, somebody else is following up with them. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is they have to really just get that fear of rejection. I mean, do you have anything that you recommend to your coaching clients, or as far as aside from just doing it, or what, do you have anything that you suggest to them?
Yeah, so if your listeners will just take on the idea that you said that no is part of the process. Mm-hmm. And when you're following, first of all, not everybody you meet and talk to is going to be interested in doing business with you. Okay, but your job is to find the ones that are. There was a study done that showed the most successful salespeople get the most no's. And the reason for that is because they make more calls than most people. So when you're following up, the mindset I want you to have is no is good. You're looking for two answers. You're looking for a yes or a no. That's what you're looking for. And the pain is not in the no. The pain is in the ignore. That's what hurts. I will take a no over an ignore any day of the week, because when somebody tells me no, I know where they stand. So if you're, yes, you've got to take the action, but just tell yourself no is good. I'm looking for a yes or a no, because you're vetting, you're moving, you know, I don't want to spend my time on ignores, but I do. I follow up. I would much rather somebody tell me no. And that can help your listeners really get some kind of comfort with that. And it's not you. And remember, the most successful salespeople get the most no's. It's part of the sales process. You cannot be in sales and never hear the word no. Like, no, it's just impossible. Yeah. You know, I always say it's like chopping wood and expecting never to get a splinter.
Exactly.
You know? Or in the loan business, you know, in the banking business, there's this philosophy that if you don't have any bad loans, you're not making enough loans. You know, you're being too safe. And it's just that you don't want to be too safe and not follow up. You got to follow up and be okay with the no.
I love that. I love that. I mean, and I like that you mentioned no is better than ignore, because it's funny, because that's one thing I learned early on is we have leads every day. I'd rather talk to somebody who I haven't talked to in 2-3 weeks, finally get a hold of them, and they tell me, oh, I'm not interested. Because guess what? That's one less person I have to follow up with. And actually it's funny, maybe I'm kind of weird that way, but I actually get excited when I get a hold of somebody and they say they're not interested. When I've been calling them 10, 15, 20 times. To me, when they say no, I'm actually excited, because now I can take that away, because that's less calls I have to take. Now I can push, because that's taking my time, and that's how I look at it. It's taking our time as sales professionals. I'd rather focus on the people that are getting ready to say that will be a yes. So no is okay with me. You know, I'm okay with that. I actually look forward to how many people I can get no. So my goal is funny, and I tell this to a lot of my agents, and this is one thing that I try to focus with my agents as well, is focus on the activity and not so much on the result in the beginning. And I think that's what a lot of people in sales, I'm sure you can attest to, a lot of people get discouraged because, oh, I got a hold of it. He said, no, they're not interested. I'm going to cry and cry and then hide in the corner somewhere. And, like I must not be a good realtor because they said no to me, and I think that's important that, like, I love that. He said, no is better than an ignore. I'll take a no right now than somebody said, I'll be honest, I'll say a no, said, let me think about it. No, just be upfront with you. I'd rather you say no, that you're not interested, instead of me having to follow up with you for the next 2 years, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I, you just to kind of expand what you said, the only thing you have control over is your action. Mm-hmm. That's it. You don't have control over how it's going to turn out. The chips are going to fall where they may. Yeah, you can use some scripting and try to persuade them or whatever, but you still don't really have control over what they're going to say. So focus on your action and let it, whatever is going to happen is going to happen.
I love that. Yeah. And that's why, when I created this, it's called an activity point tracker for my agents. I actually did it when I was doing mortgages. I also did it when I was selling insurance. I've sold everything, but I just like anything, because it's about the activities, right? Because I understand part of the sales process is activities. Like you said, it's the no is part of the process, right? You got to go through the no's to get through the yes. You got to, just like anything in sports. I mean, you're not going to be able to, be a great baseball player sitting in the dugout, right? I mean, just like you mentioned, I don't know any athlete, let's say a baseball player, who you could be the best baseball player ever. There's no baseball player ever that's had a good career in baseball that's never given a home run. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. They've always given a home run. So imagine if let's say Sandy Koufax, I don't know if you know Sandy Koufax, is a Hall of Famer, gave up a home run to a baseball player and he quit. Oh man, I quit because I gave up a home run. I guess I suck. I'm going to quit. I'm going to work at Walmart now, right? You never get to, become who you're destined to be. So I think that's what, I think hopefully our listeners are getting from our conversation today is really the actions, right? And follow-up is definitely an activity that has to be part of your process. So in the last few minutes here, I want to kind of talk a little bit about networking, because I know you're a big networker and I'm big in networking, and we go through all these networking events. Everybody gets these business cards, but they don't follow up. So in the last few minutes, let's talk about, what would you recommend? So let's say we go to I go to a networking event, I get a few cards. What's your best advice for anybody out there that's networking or meeting other business owners or potential clients? What's the best way? Should I call them right away? Should I put them in a drip system? Should I put them in CRM? Should I harass them every so often? Is there any advice you can give as far as networking?
Yes. So when you're networking, you're looking for good connections. And so many people go to events and they just kind of dilly-dally, socialize, have a drink, get something to eat, get a few business cards, and leave. And they really aren't having good conversations when they're meeting a good connection. You go to networking events to build your business, bring in more sales, and meet good referral sources. So you don't want to waste your time. You want to be having the right conversation, asking the right questions. Is this somebody that's interest seems to be piqued about what I do? And you're obviously not going to get into the throes of all that you do in that meeting, but at the event, but you ask, would it be okay if I followed up with you? I'd like to continue this conversation and get to know more about you and share with you, what I do and how I can support you if they've expressed an interest, so that you're clear. And they'll say yes, and then you say, okay, when would be a good time to follow back up? And they may say, I'm really busy right now. Why don't you follow up in a couple weeks? Great. Then you make note of that on their business card. You get the information into your CRM, and you set a reminder date to follow up in 2 weeks. That's how you are going to get the most out of it. So if you're going to meet people who aren't good connections, and that's okay, you move on. You want to be very purposeful and strategic when you're at networking events, because it takes time, energy, effort, and money to go to events, and people are networking themselves to death, and then they're just not getting anything out of it. And if you're going to networking events regular basis and you're not doing any kind of follow-up work, I highly suggest you stop going, because you're not, people are going to see you, but that's not enough. That's not enough to bring business in. So you could be doing a lot of other things. And that sounds kind of harsh, but look, I don't want you being wasteful with your resources or your company's resources. It's pointless. So be very clear about why you're there, what you want to get out of it, and ask the right questions. And you can ask the questions in a professional, polite way. It doesn't mean you're a bull in a china shop, being this pushy salesperson, which is another fear. You're there to professionally and politely make some good connections, and then have next action steps in that conversation. If your listeners would do that, they're going to show up differently at the event, because they're going to be really clear on what they're doing there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. I like that, because a lot of people I see, especially out here in California, we all attend the same chamber events, the same mixers, realtors attend these lunch and learns, all these different workshops, or even go to these Zoom calls. But like you said, it's, they don't really have a purpose. They don't have a plan. Why are they there? And I think I like to follow up with that, even because a lot of people see me because I'm also big in doing social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, and now a lot of people are seeing me on TikTok. Like, what is he doing in TikTok, right? But a lot of people, I tell people, don't do Facebook, don't do Instagram, don't do TikTok if you're not gonna do it consistently. If you don't have a plan, like you mentioned, a concise plan or strategy in place on why you're there, right? Don't just make videos to post on YouTube. What is your plan? What's your end goal for that? And that's just like in a follow-up. Why are you following up with a client? There's a reason why you're staying in touch with a client or with your sphere, with your database, because down the road, they may turn to become clients, or more important, they might be able to refer you clients, right? I know that's why I network. That's why I'm here at the studio. One of my lenders, by the way, this is sponsored by Christian Donlan Lending Team. I had to give them a shout out as well. So out here in Temecula. So it's important that we're following up with, our referral partners and connecting with them. And it's funny, like a lot of people come to me all the time, like, hey, give me your business, right? Give me your business. Like, but I haven't seen you in 6 months. Yeah. You haven't connected me, and I'm supposed to just all of a sudden give you business, So it's definitely important, like you mentioned, to really have a plan, just like anything, especially networking. A lot, like you mentioned, you've probably seen this a lot. Everybody networks, right? But they're not really connecting in these events, right? It's baffling, and they're complaining, like, I go to all these events, but I don't get any business out of it. I go to these mastermind network events, but I don't get any business out of it. Yeah. I go to these lunch and learns, I go to this, I go to that, but that's because you're doing it wrong, right? And we'll talk. I guess we'll table that for a different topic, a conversation. But In the last few minutes here, a couple minutes here before we wrap it up here, I know you probably have to go here. Any last words or anything, any last advice you can give people as far as the follow-up, the process or the strategy that you want to leave here with my audience, and also with people that will be watching this down the road?
Yeah, I just really want to plead with them to please make follow-up a priority. Like, make it a priority every working day. I want it to be up there with checking your email, voicemail, and text message. You would never go a day and not do that, regardless of how busy you are. And that's what I want. That's where I want follow-up to be for all of your listeners, because it's a game changer. When your sales change, your business changes, your whole life changes. And I want, and it allows you, it opens the door for working smarter, not harder. And you know, that's what we all want to do. So I just ask your viewers and listeners to please rethink follow-up and bring it up to the priority list, so that you can give yourself and your business and your sales the best chance of getting to levels that I know each one of them envision for themselves, and have a dream for what kind of life that would bring them. And it's follow-up that will do that. That's what's going to change everything.
I love it. Love it. Thanks again, Wanda. So how can, if somebody have more questions on the follow-up strategies, or, you know, want to get information about your book, how can they reach out to you?
So they can, I'll offer your listeners a complimentary 30-minute strategy call, you know, where we'll talk about what's working for them, what's not, and we'll see if what blocks I can identify. If that interests them, they can reach me at 858-382-1952. Or I'm at Wanda at followupsalesstrategies.com. And my website's followupstrategies.com. And if they on my website, they can get my free guidebook on 7 strategies to close more sales. So that's free. They'd like to download that. And yeah, that's how they can get a hold of me. All
right. Well, I appreciate that. Well, thanks again, Wanda, for stopping by today. And I mean, maybe next time we can actually have you here in action in the studio, so face to face. You know, but definitely appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule, getting here on the Zoom calls. You know, great thing with technology, we're still able to connect, and, you know, and still provide value for our clients and for our audience is really what business is all about. And that's what I do. That's the reason I do these podcasts. I'm sure that's why you attend some of the mastermind events or networking events that, you know, we've been to. So I definitely appreciate you being on this Zoom call today. All right.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Wanda. So I'm going to close this out. I want to give thanks again to Wanda Allen for being, you know, on her show today. And if you want more information about her, definitely, she gave us information. I'll leave it here in the comment section. I think I'm going to post this later to some of my other channels. So make sure to follow her. You know, go to her website, followupstrategies.com. And then for anybody out there, for any business owners, for realtors who are watching this, who want more information, definitely message me, message Wanda. Like we've discussed today, I mean, it's really about following up. I mean, make that as your priority. Like Wanda just said, it's, you know, if you want to be successful in business, it's really about going through the process and having a follow-up system in place so that you're able to get rewarded in the end. And that's really what it comes out to. You did the hard work, like Wanda said, of getting the lead, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be door knocking, farming, or networking, you or even spending money. Sometimes people spend money on leads.
Yeah.
It's value. So for you to not create a follow-up system, not to give up in the first 2 attempts, like Wanda said, is really not only doing you a disservice, but also doing a disservice for the consumer, because they actually did reach out to you a lot of times for information, for your assistance. For you not to complete the follow-up process is doing a disservice, which I appreciate Wanda mentioning that and really stating that it's a disservice, not just to us as a sales professional, but more importantly, is a disservice for the consumer. So thanks again for you know, really sharing some of your valuable insights to our viewers here today. So thanks again, everybody, for you know, staying tuned for Wanda Allen I'm Antonio Mendoza, aka Tony Real Estate. Make sure to watch my show next week. Make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button and follow me for more tips, more strategies for your real estate, and more importantly for all your business professionals out there as well. So once again, for Wanda Allen, thank you. And remember, stay informed, stay positive, and always stay hustling. Have a good one, guys. All right, thanks, Wanda.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm gonna end the recording. We'll talk soon.
Okay.